What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural edition, the Delayed Game Hoops Podcast, Episode 1. Going over season previews, both conferences, breaking them down, seeing which teams we should watch on League Pass this year, which teams we should probably pay no attention to.
No attention at all.
This is Jabari, DOG Barrow, either one. Call me either one.
Fred Falcon over here, holding it down.
Let's go. Let's get this started.
All right, let's get into it. Working our way backwards, we're going to start with Charlotte, a team that there really isn't a ton to say. I think their biggest splash was Rozier this summer.
Right. I mean, their biggest move was losing one of their best players in franchise history, which I feel like they didn't do enough to keep him, but at the same time, they were going to be in no man's land, kind of where they were before he left.
Yeah.
But I think the Rozier signing, a lot of people criticize it, but they're defining a direction now. They're trying to, for lack of a better word, tank to get higher draft picks and rebuild actually, instead of just trying to be a middling team trying to make the playoffs. But
yeah, it's one of those things where you can kind of tell as a team when you've reached your peak, and it just didn't make any sense to double down on this Kemba-led Hornets team that just was never going to go anywhere in the East.
Yeah, and it's good now. I think it's kind of good timing for them just because of the prospects coming out. You got Anthony Edwards, LaMelo. They can shore up that backcourt. They can go big. There's a lot of different options in the draft this year. But, moving on from them, they're not going to really do much this year. So we can go keeping the Southeast Division.
Yeah.
Let's go with, what's the next team?
Yeah, just popcorn, whoever you want to.
Yeah, let's stay over in the Hornets division and go over to the Heat.
Okay.
I think Miami's an interesting team this year because, to me, I mean, you know how I feel about Jimmy Butler, but I think he is a top 12 player in the league, top 15 at worst. And anytime you add a player like that, that just shows direction that they're trying to compete for something in the future. Maybe not this year. I don't think they have the depth up front to do it this year.
Yeah.
I like the adding of Myers Leonard. They got some more shooting.
Yeah, my boy Myers, Illinois.
Even fire. They added Myers Leonard. You still got Kelly Olynyk on the front line too. You got some shooting. Bam's gonna have a breakout year. I think he's a candidate for a huge year this year because he's gonna have a couple good playmakers with him with Jimmy Butler, and Justice Winslow is emerging as a point guard. He's starting at the point now instead of a weird small forward world. Like he's like actually, turned to a pretty good playmaker on both ends. And you think that's a team that can compete for the playoffs though? I think there's going to be that 6 to 11 spot in the East is going to be more competitive than it's been in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Heat, I think they could be one of those teams that can sneak in.
I mean, definitely with a Jimmy Butler-led team, what you're getting is a setting of the tone in terms of culture, hard work, ethic, second possessions, just all-out energy, right? So I think that'll be infectious from, top to bottom, from the team perspective. That it seemed like that already started that process of him getting to practice at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, whatever it is.
Well, how'd you feel about that?
It's a little extra. I feel like it's one of those things where if we never heard about it, but it went on.
Exactly. It's this era, so it gets all glorified. Yeah. It's a cool. I mean, I don't have a problem with the gesture, but like you said, because it's a story, it's just like, oh man, like, what's the point of this?
I would prefer to hear like these little tidbits in like March or something, where it's like when the team's surging and you're trying to figure out the keys to success and why they're doing so well, and then you hear these little background stories on how they got there. But to hear that in preseason, it's like I want to see what they actually do on the court first before it's like,
right,
look how much work we're getting done. Look how early,
Right.
That's what it is.
I think the Heat are still going to have the identity of being that team that they're not going to quit any night. And anytime, you got Jimmy Butler leading the way.
Yeah.
He's not going to accept that from his teammates. So he's going to demand that they play to a standard, at least playing hard every night.
He's going to call you out.
Yeah. I like Tyler Hero. I think he was a pretty underrated pick in the draft.
Pick, yeah.
I mean, so far in the preseason, you see what he's doing like with the hot scoring games, and he's not backing down from nobody either. Like that's a big deal.
How is he defensively?
I think it's gonna be
from an NBA perspective.
He's all right. I think it's gonna be just not an uphill battle, but like the kills out his position every night.
Yeah,
and he's playing both guard spots.
Yeah,
and I think he's gonna primarily stay at both guard spots, like most of his career anyway. But he has the athleticism. He has the quickness to stay in front of people. He doesn't have that like elite wingspan to where you think he's gonna be, an outstanding defensive player.
Right.
But I think he can be really
He'll be
good.
competent,
Yeah, I think he can definitely hold his own.
Okay. Really, really quickly about Jimmy Butler. Walk me through what you think the mindset was when he decided to go to the Heat. Because, like, outside of the obvious, clearly he just kind of wanted to be the man. But considering his journey, as you know, starting on the Bulls and his whole tenure there, and then going to Minnesota, I believe. Yeah, considering how just all that kind of transpired, like, why this team, why now? And is this the last stop for him, or this is just like right now fit?
You know what? That's a very good question, because I feel like it's a little bit of both. I think Jimmy, at the end of the day, he does want to win, but I think he really does have that old school alpha mentality. Like, I want to be the best player on a winning team, or like a team that's going far. I want to be considered the best player on this team. I think it was kind of overlooked, how good he was in the Sixers last year, because like he's pretty much an alpha mentality player playing like second, third option, and sometimes third option in that offense. And I think this is exactly the situation he wanted. He has the super close relationship with D Wade, and D Wade convinced him Miami's the place to be. Yeah. And honestly, I think it's a cool get for the Heat too, because like it kind of shows them they can still really attract those star free agents and
that's true.
Get these free agents to even change their mind. And because I thought Jimmy the Lakers were after him for a second.
Yeah.
There are other
a lot teams of big name teams trying to stack up these duos and trios.
Exactly. And I think Jimmy still has that mentality where, like, I still want to play against and beat these guys instead of, I'm going to join a super team.
And I mean, technically, maybe in his mind, it's like, I'm already playing with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. It's like, it's too crowded. Right. This is a move where he just wanted the space.
And once again, like Minnesota, he got traded there. So I know people try to criticize that. Or he could just re-sign, or if he wanted to win, he could have came back. I mean, he wants to win, but at the same time, like, a lot of people want their own situation.
Right, which he hasn't dictated yet until now. Nope. Definitely see them competing and playing hard at the very least. You can expect that from them.
Southeast, we still got... Let's go with the Wizards real quick. We don't have to spend too much time on the Wizards, no offense. Shout out to Bradley Beal. He got his contract extension today. 2 years, $72 million.
And my understanding is this is... So when that's complete, he'll be at that 10-year mark, and then he can sign that super mega ultra
max.
Ultra max. First of all, what's the status with John Wall? Is he just out for the rest of
the season? Yeah, he's out for the season.
He's out for this season too.
Yep.
So was this 2 straight seasons, or did he even?
No, he played last year, but I forgot when he got hurt. But he didn't play If anything, he played half the season.
Yeah, it didn't feel like he was even 3/4 of the season. Like.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
So how does that work in the dynamic of the plans, I guess? Because it sounds like Bradley Beal's agent was talking about how they're convincing Beal about the direction the team's going in and how they're going to put pieces around him. But then you still have like this all-star, I guess on paper, this all-star point guard waiting in the wings to come back. Yeah. So like, how do you kind of manage that, but then also the direction of this new look Wizards team?
Yeah, it's a bad analogy, but I mean, obviously we're Bulls fans at heart, so I'm going to use it anyway. It kind of reminds me of the situation with Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler when D Rose was hurt.
That's a good
point.
And
then, Jimmy Butler, it became his team because he stepped up and was playing well. And
by default, it became his team.
And when D Rose got back, there's like that little, there's like, I would say imaginary tension because we found out later that it wasn't real dissent between the two, that they were actually just media driven.
Media manufactured.
And I think in a weird way, we're going to see that if the Wizards don't move on from John Wall in the next year or so, which is going to be hard because he's coming off an Achilles injury.
Right.
And Bill is going to, obviously, he emerged as their best player last year. You could even say maybe even late the season before, just because how consistent he is. He averaged 25, 5, and 5 last year. Not many guys have done that ever, really.
Yeah.
And he's really emerged as a true top dog. So we'll see. I think they don't know what they're doing. I think they're still trying to rebuild, but they're kind of stuck in that position the Bulls were when they had Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And they have a star, but you don't know if you want to rebuild around them, blow it up, or if you want to push for the playoffs. It's a...
Right.
And the Wizards, they're trying to figure things out. It's a transitional year. They signed Isaiah Thomas, see if he has anything left. Thomas Bryant broke out last year. They drafted Rui Hachimura. So they have a mixture of young and older veterans. So
where do you see Rui fitting into this rookie pack? let's say, like, do you see him finishing as a top 5 rookie this year, just from an overall perspective?
I think it's possible, definitely. He's going to start immediately. And,
yeah,
anytime you start, you get those automatic looks in the lineup.
That's
and
true.
He's capable on offense. I think the problem is going to be, not problem, but the thing he has to focus on as a rookie is to develop that consistency on both ends.
Yeah.
Night in, night out.
Yeah.
He's going to have more leeway for mistakes, I feel like, because they're just not that deep, especially at forward.
Yeah.
So I think Rui can end up being one of the better rookies, especially stats-wise. He's going to have an opportunity.
For sure. Yeah, I kind of see Rui, at least in this early segment of his career, as kind of a guy where people are going to look back and realize they kind of underestimated what his potential could have been.
Definitely.
There wasn't a ton of buzz with him coming out, so it's like, I feel like he's definitely going to make some noise in that early segment.
I think that's the main storyline to watch this year for the Wizards too. If you're looking for something to look for with the Wizards, Bradley Beal's going to do his thing, obviously, but development of Rui Hachimura, Troy Brown Jr., a couple of the other young guys, we want to see what they're going to do because, like I said, they have a mixture of older guys too, but they're probably not going to win much this year.
No, Washington is not going to be a hot league pass team this year.
Sad to say. Let's see. Right. Who's next in the Southeast? Yeah, there's only 2 teams. I think Hawks and the Magic left.
Okay.
You want to do Hawks next?
Yeah, let's do Atlanta. Definitely an interesting team there. Travis Schlenk took over, was it 2 years ago?
I think so.
And started this kind of rebuild of, drafting young players, kind of mirroring the Golden State way of doing things in the Golden State system and trying to find guys with pace and shooting ability. So seeing the maturation of Trae Young with John Collins, how do you see the pieces fitting in, like Reddish coming in? First of all, do you think he's going to start? Or obviously Hunter as well, another big piece to this cog that they're building. But how do you see kind of all these young players kind of growing and fitting in together?
I think the Hawks might be a year away from competing for the playoffs. And I only say that because their best players are just they're very good, but they're just very inexperienced. Mm-hmm. Where I hate to use the Bulls as another example, but that's the example as a team where you can see the young players that they have a couple years under their belt and they have that mixture of veteran talent where they've been to the playoffs before, and this is the moment where it makes sense. By year 4 or 5 of some of these guys, they should be making a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, it starts to click.
I think the Hawks might need another year just because Trae Young's in year 2, Kevin Huerter's gonna be in year 2. DeAndre Hunter's probably going to start. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
John Collins, this is his 3rd year. And probably Alex Len. But
yeah,
I think they just might need another year. They have to figure out who's going to do what. They have to settle into roles.
Right.
You already got Trae Young as the top dog. John Collins is knocking on the door as being that real second star complimentary piece. But, he has to show it for another season.
Yeah.
Cam Reddish has to learn how to play a role first after being, he's still got a lot of touches as a 3rd option at Duke. He has to learn how to play a role off the bench now.
Yeah. He might not get those same touches at the pro level. He'll definitely have to rely more on his defense to stay on the floor.
Definitely.
And I think the biggest thing to help him stay on the floor would just be knocking down those open shots when he gets them.
Exactly. And not trying to do too much, not trying to force too many bad shots because that can get a rookie off the court quicker than anything.
Yeah.
I think if all goes well and the young players can buy into roles, that's such a big if with a young team. You just don't know how they're going to adjust to, shot opportunities, where things are going to come in the offense, playing defense consistently. They just have to settle into all of those things. And if they do, I think they have a shot that you put that in that group with Miami.
Yeah.
All these teams at the bottom 6 to 11, they could probably make a push for playoffs at some point.
Yeah. And I think a point you kind of brought up earlier, but it's really just a confidence with them. So once they get used to settling into their respective roles, buying into the coaching and just learning each other's styles, that team can be really dangerous. So as a complete polar opposite to Washington, this is a league pass team.
Oh, absolutely.
To look for.
Absolutely.
You're going to see an exciting brand of basketball.
Man, Trae Young is he has his own style. It's weird because, you want to compare him to Steph Curry, but even his gathers are they're so different.
Yeah.
I don't know. He'll pull from anywhere, but his dribble moves are so quick. you don't know when he needs no setup basically
Yeah.
to pull off any of his shots.
And
So,
he's a great passer, so you
Exactly.
still have to respect that.
the Hawks are gonna be fun. They're definitely gonna be a team to watch, and if they can get those roles sorted out, I know Coach Lloyd Pierce, like he did a pretty good job considering
He did.
everything last year. They made a nice run after the All-Star break,
Yeah.
and obviously you want to watch Vince Carter's final season.
VC.
That's a must.
How many dunks you got for him this year?
Oh man, I'm gonna say
Over and under on 5.
5. I think he's gonna get 17.
17
I
dunks?
thought a random number. He was 17 dunks. It's a big year for him
Okay.
on the dunk side.
I'm gonna take the under on 17. But yeah, nah.
Got confidence in UVC.
He's still got the springs in his legs for sure. All right, so Southeast, who we got left?
Magic.
Orlando. What went down in Orlando? I guess the biggest buzz currently is the whole Markelle situation. And
Exactly. Yeah.
what is he bringing to the table? And are we seeing even, let's just say, a top 5 pick out of him, or is he going to be back to? Is he going to play tonight? Like what's going on there?
Man, I think if Markelle Fultz can play a role this year, that's a huge win. Just because,
Just a role,
right? Just for confidence sake. And
Yeah.
I know people want to write him off now, but he's so young. He's only, I think, 21 or just turned 21, and he's still learning. I think this is the time. If like say if a top pick didn't work out for whatever reason, like injury,
yeah,
whatever, like, this is the time where you get that, I guess, second chance in a way, and really have the opportunity to show what you can do.
right,
Part of the main reason why he didn't get a chance to do that in Philly was because not only was he hurt, but they had such a win now expectation. Like, the Magic aren't asking Markelle Fultz to come in and carry them. They're already a playoff team. They have a nice young nucleus.
yeah,
They're asking him to play a role in the team and grow into being someone who's comfortable taking assuming more responsibility down the line.
yeah.
But,
And on top of that, they publicly stated this in the media, so it was very clear to him behind the scenes, but then to all the media and fans and whatnot that are going to be bringing up these questions about, what are the intentions of the team going forward and their faith in him. They're making it clear, like, this, we're going to ride this out. We trust this kid, and his development and his return to form, So I think that'll pay big dividends, like you said, because he's in an environment where he can thrive. So.
Right. And I think the biggest thing for Miami, you're asking, not Miami, with Orlando, you're asking what their biggest, what they do this summer, basically. And their biggest thing was continuity and returning that same team that made the playoffs a year ago. I think a lot of teams, there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions now just because, you see a lot of players teaming up and you want to go after those big names, but this team stood pat. They have, like I said, a nice young nucleus. They can compete for the playoffs again and maybe even go a little further when around this time. It's possible because Mo Bamba develops. You see Markelle Fultz, if he's able to play a role. They added Aminu, Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac's getting a lot better. I feel like it's a much deeper Magic team than it has been in the past if these guys can come in and play roles and fit in together.
I agree. The depth is definitely there. Quick question. You brought up Mo Bamba. It seemed like the issue last year, first of all, obviously he's a rookie and he was pretty raw.
Yeah.
But it was also just a level of where is his playing time coming from? Because he's playing behind Vucevic. Right. What's different this year? Like, would he not be in the same position other than the coaches trying to find a little more spot minutes here and there? Like,
yeah, and that's the big issue. Whenever you have an all-star that, you're playing behind, as a young player, you would think he'd have a quicker hook. If he starts messing up, we have Vooch, we just bring him in. He's going to give us 20 plus and 10 plus a night.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Bamba is he's been playing well in the preseason. He's assuming more of a defensive role, which we all know that's really not Vooch's strong suit. That's my guy, but it's not a strong suit defense. And Bamba, they drafted him to potentially be that anchor, that watchdog, that person in the middle who was intimidating and whatnot.
Who can still step out and shoot a 3.
Exactly, and I think he obviously represents their best defensive lineup. You put him out there at Isaac, Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
Let's see who else. I don't know. A couple other guys, and then you round out a nice defensive five. But
yeah.
I think he's gonna if he plays defense a little bit better, like you said, I think Steve Clifford's gonna have to find those spot minutes for him. But it's gonna be tough for Bamba. He's still playing a role in a team that has expectations to at least return to the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm. Do you see Jonathan Isaac as a guy developing that consistent jump shot, or is he just gonna kind of always have that defensive twinge to his game with some capable offensive skills, or do you see him taking a leap this year, maybe even the season after?
I think
from just like a shooting perspective.
I hope so, and I think that's the next step in his game. I think he got a lot more confident last year, just being out there, and because he missed a lot of his rookie season.
Yeah,
he got a lot more confidence making plays last year. And it's just weird because he's one of those guys where you see him. It's kind of how Ingram was his first 2 years. I think this is year 4 for Ingram.
Yep.
His first couple of years, he would do something. It's like, damn, if he could do this consistently or get like 3-4 of these a game, like this guy is like. He's a real confident player on both ends. And Isaac is, if his offense really develops, he's Orlando's best player, I think. Just because of his defensive ability.
All around, yeah.
He has that versatile, at least framework where you can add more layers to his game, and this guy can pretty much do everything on the court one day.
Yeah, so with that being said, what are kind of the expectations for Orlando this year? First of all, League Pass team?
I think so. I mean, it's those early games, the first games of the day.
4:00 Pacific games.
Now, you're going to get those bad matchups sometimes. They're playing like an Eastern Conference team. It's early. And it's
Orlando, Charlotte.
Man, it's the first one I thought of. And you're probably not going to watch it, but watch them because, like I said, they were good last year, and they returned the same group. And anytime you do that, like, you're going to at least see... You would assume less turnovers. You're going to see good chemistry. You're going to see young players trying to grow into roles. And the Markelle Fultz factor, they're exciting. They have Terrence Ross off the bench. They have a lot of... I think they have some intrigue, honestly.
For sure.
Team.
Yeah. Expectations playoff-wise, should they just be shooting for chemistry building and continuity, or should they also be gunning for the playoffs? Obviously, every team wants to make the playoffs, but... realistically, stepping back and looking at it from our perspective, not the actual team, do you see them gunning for the playoffs or? Yeah,
I think best case, super best case, they're 4 seed, they can win like a 4-5 matchup. 3-6, they get like a 6 seed, they can win a matchup as a lower seed. Yeah. I think that's their goal this year, winning a playoff series and just building upon what they did.
Yeah, I mean, they were there last year, so maybe take some of those veteran guys' experiences, DJ Augustine, etc., pass it on to, the young talent, integrate Markelle, and keep it moving.
Yep. All right, moving on, the Atlantic Division. Let's see. Let's talk about the Nets next.
Okay. Brooklyn.
They obviously made 2 incredible, the biggest free agent splashes in their franchise history in the same offseason, KD and Kyrie Irving. Obviously, KD's not playing this entire year, recovering from the Achilles tear.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting that this season is going to be basically what it was like the past couple years in Boston for Kyrie, though, right? It's
exactly
you're the primary leader of this young group, and they basically will go how he goes in so many words.
Yeah. If
Kyrie can, quote unquote, lead better, and he admitted he wasn't the best leader in Boston. Last year was very trying on him, but this really seems like the place that he wants to be.
Yeah.
1,000%. He chose this place. He's from Jersey.
Yeah.
He wants to lead the Nets to a title. So I think he'll be more motivated to be a better leader. But from a basketball standpoint, do you think they can actually make some noise this year? What's their ceiling, if possible?
To be honest, I don't know, because that game they played in China with against the Lakers, and as soon as Kyrie went out, it's just, and obviously Durant's not playing. It's like, okay, well, what team are we looking at again? Because all that hype and hoopla about this new and improved Nets team, then you see DeAndre Jordan out there and kind of the same cast. And obviously the cast they had last year was still a good cast. Like, they played really well in their series in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They still have LeVert, who's going to continue to rise, and Dinwiddie holding down the fort. But it's just like, I guess it really just depends, like you said, on the leadership Kyrie has and how he integrates himself to this team. So there's that dynamic of, not stepping in and saying, this is my team, even though on paper it is.
Right.
But, there's a dynamic to that when there's already an established core that you're joining. And that's obviously what kind of went down in Boston, where there's an established core. He came in, he admitted that he wasn't the best leader and was going through some things, as you said.
Right.
So we just have to take him at face value and believe that's what went wrong. But it remains to be seen how this experience is going to go, because like you started all of this, it's kind of a similar situation. So from a basketball perspective, I don't know, man. it kind of just seems like a weird fit. I was really excited about this, but the Durant Achilles injury,
yeah, it really damages things.
It's like letting air out of a balloon. Yes. I feel like with that piece in there, it's like you can get really excited about this team. But with this team as currently constructed with like Mass Kyrie, Dinwiddie and LeVert kind of as those leaders, it just seems like there's an automatic cap on where they can go. So then it's kind of hard to get excited about them as a team moving forward until Durant gets back.
Exactly, yeah. And I think this year is actually going to be similar to the Hawks, but they're going to be expected to make the playoffs, where the Hawks, if they make it, that's a huge step. But
right,
who knows what LeVert's going to be? Because who knows if he's maxed out his potential as I don't think he has. I think he has a couple of levels to reach. But for instance, I think Joe Harris has finally found himself as an NBA player. Spencer Dinwiddie the same way. I don't think these guys are going to actually like make significant improvements, which they don't need to. These are ready-made role players. Yeah. So I think they're going to be able to contribute to winning on a nightly basis. But like you said, with Durant not being there, there's only a cap to where they can go this year.
Yeah.
Even in the East, honestly, there's really, I can't really see them past 5 or 4. I think 4 would be a great year with
4, yeah.
With no Durant.
Yeah. And yeah, my bad. I forgot to bring up Joe Harris. I think that even though he wasn't absolutely spectacular, but no, I was gonna say, well, yeah, the playoffs was dismal, but the USA basketball experience, which I think will, at least from just a confidence standpoint and camaraderie, I think that'll help, kind of help elevate his game to the next level. But yeah, Boston, I think, nonetheless will be an intriguing draw every time they're playing on TV and just kind of assessing.
Oh, you mean Brooklyn?
What did I say?
Boston.
You definitely mean Brooklyn, not Boston. There'll be an interesting draw just to get a sense of where they are and where they're going, keeping in mind Durant's coming back to this team.
Right. So, speaking of Boston,
I was about to say, with that being said, we could
perfect transition to the Celtics, who I think that's going to be an interesting rivalry to watch all year. I know they're not really direct rivals like that, but with Kyrie playing for the Nets now instead of the Celtics, I think it's going to be a nice rivalry to watch because they're kind of in similar spots roster-wise. If you see them, if you look at the Nets and the Celtics, they have like a spectacular all-star lead guard, but then they have a couple other young players who still are trying to hit and still trying to hit that jackpot, but then also some more veterans on the team with experience. But
right.
Boston has a really interesting roster. They have a lot of rookies. They have I feel like more unknowns in the interior spots than they probably would want for a playoff team, but I don't know. They have a lot of, I think, just good. They have good rookies, though. You saw Carson Edwards the other day do his thing.
Lighten it up.
He's ready to play right now. I think Tremont Waters, even if they have to go 3 deep some nights or play both of them together, he can play right now. Jaylen Brown, he wants the big contract. He's in for a big year, hopefully, or if he wants to get that contract that he wants, so maybe he's more motivated. Jason Tatum wants to take that all-star leap, so there's so many different storylines with the young players in their team.
Yeah.
These guys have to play well for Boston to overachieve.
And then, but also we have that narrative running with Gordon Hayward and just where's he at with his return to form. So obviously last year was his actual return.
Right.
But he spent the whole year kind of on an up and down swing, and he never could really trust that, he was fully back to where he was. Just when he thought he had this amazing game, he would run out the court and put up a stinker the next night. So it's like,
what do you expect from this year?
If anything, I expect what Paul George did in that second year back from his major injury, where
just got back to form.
That's when you see him get back to form. So a lot of times when you hear with these injuries, when it's stated from the medical staff and the medical team that, this is a 10-month injury or one season injury, right. It really ends up being 2. And the second part of that recovery is them just actually playing games again.
Right.
So I feel like entering this second year now, coming off of that, this is when we'll actually start to see him come back to form. So my expectations are still mixed. Mm-hmm. A part of me feels like the swagger he got playing in Utah may not be captured in the same way on this team. I think it does help to have someone in there like Kemba as opposed to Kyrie, just from a team gelling standpoint. But at the same time, yeah, I really feel like we're still gonna get mixed results from Hayward if we're looking through the lens of Utah Hayward.
Yeah, I think we've got him as Boston's X factor this year, and
Yeah.
for pretty much all the reasons you just said. If he does play well and is able to, I wouldn't even say even get back to the Utah level because who knows if he will.
Yeah,
And maybe he doesn't even have to at this point. Just really
True.
get to that more, just that versatile role of being a playmaker and being a communicator on both ends. Somebody who can come in, knock down shots, then also defend his position to a decent degree.
yeah,
But I think Boston is definitely one of those league pass teams because they're the rare team where if it's a close game or if it's a blowout, you're going to want to watch them. If it's a close game, you're going to want to watch Kemba, Jason Tatum, those guys.
exactly.
If it's a blowout, Taco Fall.
Taco.
Taco Fall. And who knows? Taco Fall might get some minutes this year. He might get some utility minutes. You know, right now they have Tice and his Cantor, Robert Williams, few bigs, Vincent Poirier, the rookie.
Yeah.
Grant Williams playing power forward. He's really good, versatile player.
But do you see a similarity to like Darko? Remember when Detroit used to bring in Darko at the end and the games? It was like the icing on the cake.
I think he's actually going to have a way bigger role in terms of, I think it's going to be more of the Boban role where like at some point he's going to get those real utility minutes.
I can see that.
Flow of games, like certain lineups is too fast. He's not going to play as much.
There's no way, yeah.
But if they have like a traditional, like if they play the Lakers, for instance, no joke, I would throw him out there.
Yeah, why not? All those bigs they got, yeah. He can eat up, 8 to 10 minutes for you.
Exactly, yeah. You're not going to ask him to do anything too crazy this year. And he's going to be in Maine developing with them too, so.
That's true, yeah. 2-way contract. Mm-hmm. So, Knicks. New York, they drafted their guy, RJ Barrett. I guess, how do you see... Do you see him stepping in as trying to lead this team, or do you see him kind of just trying to get used to the flow of things and find his path naturally?
I think he's going to be thrown to the fire, so it's going to be tough for him to ease in things.
Yeah.
Knicks fans always have crazy expectations, or it's really the media or just the pressure, just being a Knick. And I think RJ has the personality to handle that just fine, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't really seem two-phased, but he also has to produce at the same time. I think he has the skill to be one of the top rookies in the league. Obviously he was drafted high for a reason.
Yeah.
He has an NBA frame. He can really score. It's going to be about efficiency with RJ, I think. He's going to play a lot, so you already know he's going to have a longer leash than certain rookies.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
They have vets at the two, but, RJ can play both spots, but then also you just want to see, if he's really ready for that type of, I guess, marquee role from the beginning.
Right.
And I think he's going to be good. I think, honestly, I see him averaging 15, 18 points on this team.
I think you can do that easy, yeah.
That's realistic. Hopefully he can get the percentages at least 45 this year. But, this is first year in the league. You just don't know how he's going to be efficient from the field and the line. But
I think his shot selection is going to be a little erratic. In time, his coach and the team as a whole will kind of help steer him on the right path. I think he'll be producing a lot more consistently and efficiently by, I would say, the second half of the season.
What do you think of all the power forwards they signed? They got Bobby Portis,
I think there's
Marcus Morris, Gibson.
They
signed the same player 3 times. Pretty much. Julius Randle. I like all of these guys
individually. Agreed.
But together,
as a collective, that is a very redundant bunch. So
I think the big winner out of all that could be Mitch Robinson. Where he's the only true center. I know Todd's going to play a lot of the 5-2, but you're going to have Mitch Robinson out there a lot just because he's a good defensive presence and he's the only true center on that roster.
No, his minutes are going to be pretty ironclad for sure. Not too much competition there, but there's kind of a logjam at that forward. That forward situation is a little crazy, but New York. I think that's an interesting team to watch. Just to
see what happens.
Just to see what happens. Yeah.
Dennis Smith Jr. We didn't even talk about him too.
Right. I'm sure he kind of feels like an afterthought in these deals.
And they signed Peyton too, who might start.
Right. So I'm sure Smith is kind of coming into the season with a chip on his shoulder, even bigger than any that he's ever had. Hopefully he continued to work on his offensive game just from efficiency from shooting standpoint.
Do we see them competing for the playoffs this year, or is this a possibility?
I don't know. They might be on the bubble. I could see this season getting to a point for New York where things just kind of start imploding. The losses pile up, and they shift to more of a development role. So my guess would be no. They're not making the playoffs, but
yeah, I agree. Just on the record, I completely agree. I don't see it. They have the talent, yeah, but I just think they have too many players who need to play at the same position.
At the same position. So then it just leads you to believe how's this gonna work?
Right. All right. Last but not least in the Atlantic Division, move on to the Sixers.
Philly.
Legitimate title contender this year.
Absolutely. They
have a great starting five. Man, you got Joel Embiid, Al Horford, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, acquired the Jimmy Butler deal.
That's
Ben Simmons.
One of the most stacked starting fives, yeah.
That's a great five. That's a lot of size. I mean, they're versatile on defense. They're switchable. I think it's that second unit. I'm looking at it right now. They just have to, the second unit, they really have to establish those roles because Mike Scott's the only returning player with the clear-cut role.
Yep.
James Ennis was in and out of the rotation.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's just played. He's okay.
Yeah.
For his role, like he's soft for his role. They drafted Matisse Thybulle. He's gonna play a good defensive role on this team.
Yeah.
He's got to knock down those threes though. Same with Zaire Smith. We don't know what type of role he's gonna play. He's an incredible athlete, but is his offense gonna be good enough? Is shooting good enough to stay on the floor? We'll see.
Yeah. Hopefully he can come in and just be kind of a good spark plug, change of pace guy.
Yeah. What do you think behind Ben Simmons? Do you like the Trey Burke Howell Neto combination? ESPN has him as fifth string.
Yeah, I forgot all about Neto. How do I feel about Ben Simmons? Is that the question?
Oh no, I guess behind them, or even the guard depth behind them.
The depth behind Simmons, yeah,
Simmons and Richardson.
I don't feel great about it. I'll tell you that. I mean, I think they'll be fine. Depending on, I guess because that main five core is so deep that even if you take Simmons out, but you keep two of those other five guys in.
Right, and Richardson's shown the ability to play point too.
In Richardson, that's true. He can handle some ball handling duties. So, yeah, I'll take that back. I think they'll be fine. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, his backup guards might even take more open jump shots than he would. So, from that standpoint of just like keeping the defense honest and moving the ball, I think they'll do a good job, kind of coming in and filling in for him.
Is it title or bust for the Sixers this year? I wouldn't say bust because they're so young, but it's. I guess metaphorically, is the title a realistic expectation?
I think the way I see it is if they make the title, no one's like, well, how did Philly get here? You know, it's just like, okay, well, they've earned this, they should make it. At the same time, I think like their floor is they have to make the Eastern Conference Finals again.
Completely agree.
Because they made it last year. It's like that's what the expectation is now. So nonetheless, that remains to be seen that their expectations are high because it's either Eastern Conference Finals or Finals, which doesn't leave a lot of room for anything else.
Right, and I think those
are the two highest levels.
Exactly, and not only that, I think they actually have the personnel this year where they had it last year too. Honestly, I mean Kawhi hasn't hit that shot.
They were one shot.
I think they could have possibly beaten the Bucks last year, definitely beaten them. And then they could have won against the Warriors too, especially with KD's injury. So
my bad, I said Eastern Conference Finals.
They got the second round.
Semifinals.
Semifinals. But either way, I think their floor is the conference finals. Yeah. They need to at least get there. Because on paper, I think Bucks and the Sixers have the strongest rosters in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. All right, so Cleveland, I have to say, first of all, I just feel like Kevin Love is out there in no man's land.
He's probably looking around
man, huh? I feel bad.
What's this happen?
Yeah, he was just such a good part of the NBA and that early start of the decade, the tens. And now I feel like he's just an afterthought. I mean, thankfully he won a championship, and that was nice for his resume. But I feel like the Kevin Love that was just dominating on Minnesota and went to Cleveland and sacrificed, won a championship, and he's just never returned to form.
Yeah,
kind of sad.
The injuries, and then they clearly went a different direction with the roster. But I mean, it's because LeBron left. If he was still there, we'd still be talking about Kevin Love as the X factor for potential finals run. But
exactly.
Different circumstances. I think he's going to be a candidate to get traded this year.
Yep.
Just because you look at that roster, they're clearly in rebuild mode.
Clearly.
They have some. They have a real interesting. I think this is a sneaky league pass team. They're going to be very bad, I think, but they have a lot of young players. At least I like Darius Garland. They're drafted, I think, number 5 overall.
Well. First of all, what is your expectation with Garland and Sexton?
I
as a combo unit?
I think they're trying to do a Dame CJ type thing, but it's just
well, that's what we heard.
It's like the same. They both like to score. Garland's definitely more of a distributor than Colin Sexton. He's a better pure shooter.
Yeah,
Sexton's probably a better pure scorer right now. A better, a more engaged defender, I guess. Right now, Garland has some very good defensive tendencies too.
Yeah,
I don't know how much they're gonna complement each other though, because they're best with the ball in the hand, and they're like in both their hands. Garland's better spot up shooter, so if they can trade off those duties where Collins breaking down or Garland's breaking down, and then they dish out to each other.
Yeah,
I think year one's going to be the year to do it to figure out their chemistry. But who knows? I don't even know if Darius Garland's going to start off the bat. It might be Brandon Knight. They've been doing that in the preseason.
I forgot about Brandon Knight.
They have some veterans they can throw in. Clarkson, like it's going to be interesting because I think the young players really need to just play on the Cavs. You got to see what they have.
Yeah, and
they're going to set up for another high draft pick next year. So. They kind of draft the same position. You might as well just throw them out there together, see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is a team you can kind of check in on here and there. Obviously, Garland's a high draft pick. So you want to see kind of how he develops and he transitions to the NBA game. Didn't play a ton in college, so there's not a ton of film on him. But just to see what he's capable of. Obviously, he was a high draft pick for a reason. But yeah, this is another one of those weird teams where it's like you kind of know where they are in their development cycle. So it's like I can't tune in often, but when you do, there is some interesting stuff to look out for. Yeah,
there's definitely some prospects to watch. I mean, got to plug the USC guy, Kevin Porter Jr.
Kevin Porter, I was going to ask. So what are we looking for this season?
Honestly, I think we're just going to see flashes this year. Like I said before with Cleveland's roster, they have a lot of guys who play similar positions. He could play a lot behind Chetty Osman, who's turned to a pretty good player. He was very good last year. But, they drafted Dylan Windler from Belmont, who's a good scorer, good shooter.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Porter's going to have to find those minutes, behind either Garland, Sexton, and, Knight, or backing up Chetty Osman. We're going to see flashes. We're going to see nice dunks. We're going to see some cool, finishes in the lane, a lot of scoring things from Kevin Porter this year. I think he's going to establish himself as somebody who's a good scorer, but we'll see. We'll see how he develops, though.
He'll have some good highlights, for sure.
Definitely. I think that's what I was trying to say the whole time. I just didn't get around to it. He's going to have a lot of highlights.
Yeah. Moving over to the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, Oladipo missed a lot of last season with that lower extremity injury. But how do you see this team with Brogdon kind of leading the ship as the point guard, who's obviously a great offseason acquisition for them?
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked that.
Yeah. And then obviously coupled with Miles Turner and his continued expectations in terms of just being that dominant force down low and multi-versatile guy. What's kind of where is Indiana at, I guess,
good question.
in their growth and outlook on the season?
That's a good question. Because, I think it was sort of a curse for them to overachieve the way they did last year without Oladipo.
Yeah.
Just because they had such an unceremonious exit in the playoffs, they got swept. And it's like, I know they reshaped the roster this year, but now their expectations are a little more. They have to at least get to that 5 spot, though, right? They got there last year with no Oladipo pretty much. And you return him. And this is the first year they're actually going to start Sabonis and Turner together. He was coming off the bench for Thad Young, who's in Chicago now. So
yeah.
I think their timelines got sped up because of that. But, I think, honestly, like the Bulls, they're on that timeline where, they have a star with Oladipo, who's a bona fide all-star.
Yep.
They have a really, really good complementary piece now in Malcolm Brogdon. Sabonis is a very good player. Miles Turner, if he develops, more on the offensive end, because he's gotten pretty good on defense. I think he led the league in blocks last year.
Yeah.
T.J. Warren was one of the best pickups of the year, of the offseason. He's a real bucket getter, this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He can play with the 4, over the three, and he can get you 18, 20 points a night. So I think, and he's going to really benefit from playing in the East. He was doing that with Phoenix, where, you know, the West, they're playing against a lot of killers every night.
Yeah.
But I think if Oladipo is healthy, this is a team. This is a dark horse team in the East. Can they win the East? I don't think they have the top level, the top heavy talent to win the East. But to at least get home court in the playoffs, I think that's a top goal for them. A 3 or 4 seed is a realistic best case scenario for the Pacers.
Yeah. I guess my skepticism is what leap Turner can take. I feel like every year we kind of have that same conversation about him, you know, getting to the next level and being more dominant.
Right. Yeah. What does that look like? I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
What does that actually look like when it materializes? So that's not me hating on Turner or thinking he can't achieve it. I'm skeptical within the confines of the team and kind of his role. If he'll reach his potential in that way. And maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe if he can just maintain exactly what he's doing right now and the rest of the team steps up in other categories, then they'll be all right. But I think he's a huge piece to what they do as long as he keeps, you know, holding it down on at the 5 spot.
Yeah, I think if he can make that leap to where he's in the All-Star conversation, Indiana's gonna have a good year. Yeah. If not, honestly, they could miss the playoffs just because we don't really know the stats of Oladipo.
Same.
I don't see them missing the playoffs because they have so many good pieces around Oladipo. Where I think at least in that starting 5, you know, that's a starting 5 that can hold its own for a pretty decent amount of time if they don't have Oladipo.
Yeah.
But it's just the depth off the bench too. The Holiday brothers, you have Aaron and Justin, and then TJ Leaf, hopefully he can make a leap this year. They added TJ McConnell. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they can do off the bench because if they don't have that steady bench production too, like, I don't know if they can make at least a long run in the playoffs if they make it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we shall see with Indiana. So with the Detroit Pistons, obviously your man's D Rose is in the building. But,
shout out D Rose.
I think with them, it's another one of those things where it's like, if everyone can stay healthy and they kind of continue on that chemistry they built last year, this can be a team that contends for another playoff run, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think the problem with Detroit would just be, once again, they have to establish those roles off the bench where, you know, Derrick Rose is going to, you know, assume that 6-man role behind Reggie Jackson. Luke Kennard, and I think Derrick Rose is going to be a pair to watch off the bench this year. I think Kennard at some point is going to push for a starting spot.
Yeah.
His shooting is going to be too much to deny and either overtake Bruce Brown or Tony Snell, more defensive players. Snell can knock down a 3, but Bruce Brown's more of a defensive player. I think it's really that Drummond and Blake pairing too. Yeah. Blake was great last year, but
awesome. Yeah.
Do they maximize each other to the best degree when they're both on the floor? Is that the best version of the Pistons with Blake at the 4 and Drummond at the 5? Or should Blake be playing at the 5 or in a lineup without Drummond? So I think they just have to figure out what's the best lineup for them.
Is there any
best closing lineup?
Is there any smoke or fire to Drummond trade rumors, or has Detroit on their end come out and just said, this is our guy, we're keeping him? It seems like it's more of the latter, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard much around.
You haven't heard any talk, really?
Not really, but I could see them considering it if they get off to just a mediocre start or an underwhelming start. The Pistons do have a lineup where, like you said, they made the playoffs last year, and I guess they got better, right? I don't see who they lost Ish Smith, replaced him with D Rose, basically.
Yeah, they had Mikhailo coming off the bench.
Yeah, they have a solid roster this year. They added some pieces. They added Christian Wood, too, who should make that team.
ISO Joe.
Joe Johnson, Tony Snell. They added some solid players. Markieff Morris, too, if he's able to play a role.
That's true. Yeah, I think the reason I brought the Drummond thing is I think it would just be mutually beneficial to both of them. Like, Drummond, if he can go to a situation where he can just utilize the best of his skills to the best of his ability.
Right.
And then for Detroit, I think if they can kind of get a dynamic big man back and then kind of allow some interchangeable parts in terms of their front court in that way, I think it would open up some space for everybody else on that team, and then also, like I said before, kind of be a good fresh start for Drummond.
Right.
But who knows?
Pistons. I think expectations this year, they're once again gonna be one of those teams in the 6 to 11 range.
Yep.
Where
Nothing higher.
I think 6 is probably their cap. Five is a super max.
Yeah, they overachieved.
That's
They got to
definitely
5. Okay, so the Milwaukee Bucks, which is the actual team that made it to the conference finals last year. First of all, Lopez brothers. What are your thoughts on that?
I like it. I think it's a really interesting fit right now because they're both after the same thing, which is a title. Neither one of them has a title, and there's a lot of motivated pieces on the Bucks. I think from a veteran standpoint, you have Wes Matthews, George Hill, Kyle Korver, a lot of guys. Even Eric Bledsoe, he's a vet now. Ursan Ilyasova, a lot of guys who've never won titles before, and they're gonna be motivated. Not only do they have the talent to get it done, it's not a team with they're returning a lot of guys with built-in roles where obviously they're gonna go as far as Giannis takes them. He was incredible last year, but Chris Middleton knows what he's supposed to do every night. Eric Bledsoe does. Brooke Lopez has a true unique role in the league right now with his incredible shooting ability.
Splash Mountain.
Man, he was great last year, and his range is just crazy.
Yeah.
And they can shoot like 5-6 feet beyond the 3-point line. It's nothing. And Sterling Brown, they have a lot of guys. Pat Connaughton, guys returning, just adding to the depth in Milwaukee. So
right, yeah, and with that depth, there's a lot of continuity, and there's just the experience they gained from last season. I think will carry over for sure. I guess the biggest thing that still stands out to me though is it's kind of what you said earlier is as far as Giannis takes them, right?
Right.
So last year, it just seemed like Giannis got to a point where he took them as far as he could. And it's like, obviously Giannis is a great, great player. And he's kind of at the top of his peak. I mean, he's an MVP. But at the same time, it's like, do you realistically see him getting this mythical jump shot that he so needs in his game next season? Because I personally don't. I think it's going to be more of the same. And I just feel like there's only so many times you can barrel into the hole and spin. And while he's dominant at doing this, I'm just skeptical on if that's going to work again this year to win a championship.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think he's gonna do his thing in the regular season and be extremely dominant. I think what Milwaukee did, they added more complementary help around him. Where like they didn't go after the third star route or like someone to pair with him and Chris Middleton. They just rounded out the roster. You add a guy like Wes Matthews, you add another shooter, Kyle Korver. You're hoping DiVincenzo can give you something. Like they're relying on that depth factor. So like, for instance, if Giannis doesn't develop that 3, I don't think that's a huge problem. It's just, Sterling Brown gonna hit that 3. Or if he kicks it out to Connaughton, he's playing, or is Wes Matthews gonna make that shot. And it's like they have enough of those playmakers, enough of those guys besides Giannis where, besides him and Bledsoe, who's really breaking down the defense like that? Middleton can do it and get his own shot, but they have to really figure out, they have to really just make shots at the end of the day. And I think they have the guys to do it, but it's just going to come down to, in that fourth quarter, that tight game, are these guys, the role players, hitting their shots?
So do you think last season, the way the Bucks season ended was more on what Giannis didn't do? Or it sounds like it's more on what his teammates could have done? Like,
I just think Toronto, at the end of the day, even when Milwaukee got off that 2-0 lead, I was just like, they still have to close out this series. And on paper, they're a 60-win team. They're very good, but it's just, Toronto had more depth last year, and I think that really showed. They had a better team just all around. They had guys who can come in and make plays when, Kawhi might have an off shooting night or something like that. I just think the Bucks, like I said, if these guys are ready to play, the Browns, the Connaughton, DiVincenzo, and Wes Matthews steps up, these type of guys, like I think they can do what they want to do this year. I think their best case is winning the title. Honestly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely can see them making it there. There are some powerhouses out in the West, so I don't know if I would pick them to win over a team in the West, but yeah, they could easily make it there, as they almost did last year, and they, in my opinion, have a better team. So, next up, who we got?
Last in the East is the Bulls.
Chicago. Sneaky good team, I think, this year.
Oh man,
Their
absolutely.
their national schedule isn't popping like some of these other teams, but I think the Bulls are gonna make some noise. I think they're gonna drum up some excitement. Yeah, what is kind of your number one thing you're looking forward to in this season for the Bulls?
I think it's barring health, and I hope they're able to stay healthy. Number one thing is to watch that growth, that starting five, because they're all young and they're all growing into themselves as NBA players. Zach LaVine looks like a potential all-star this year with his ability to score the ball super efficiently, which I think that's been an underrated part of his growth the last couple of years. You know, he's always been able to make shots and make difficult shots, but
Yeah.
now he doesn't really take difficult shots. He can just use his athleticism to get to a spot where he gets an advantage off the top, like with the jumper, or he gets the advantage really easily going to the basket where like he's not doing a lot of crazy moves. He can score easily.
There's less wasted motion. You know, he's a
Absolutely.
lot more efficient in achieving what he's trying to do. It looks effortless.
Yeah, and I think that was the right move too with Jim Boylan going with Satoransky over Chris Dunn, just because, you know, they have a lot. They keep that size in the starting five. He's 6'7".
Yep.
Pair him with Otto Porter. He already has chemistry with him from Washington.
Yep.
Lowry Markin and Wendell Carter, the inside-out combination. So I think there's a lot of pieces to watch the Bulls starting five.
Yeah.
And then even off the bench, there's a lot of intrigue with how Kobe White's playing. He's been great in the preseason so far.
Kobe's been fantastic, yeah.
He can get a bucket. Like, he's going to play off the ball, too, which is great. You know, he's able to knock down shots. And Chris Dunn can be the leader of that second unit.
Yep. And it seems like Chris Dunn is buying into this kind of weird position he's in, because there's a lot of different ways he can take it, right? He can be the disgruntled guy talking about, you know, I think I should be starting, yada yada. But it seems like he's kind of accepted this. I'm just gonna play whatever role they give me, and I appreciate the communication that's going on, and we'll leave it at that.
Right.
So I think even that's a huge piece of just like helping with the growth and development of these young players and having leadership like him around.
Yeah, and I think it really goes into the chemistry, too. And the Bulls, I think they're one of those teams that when they got together over the summer, they were always like in the gym, and you know, they built that camaraderie, and like now they're starting. They would like to show it at least in the beginning part of the season. If they do get off to a good start, like we'll know it's because, or in part because of what they built over the summer and then heading into the season. But you know, all that doesn't mean anything right now. It's October. The season's about to start. These are still young players. And they have to bring it every night. So
no, the thing with the Bulls that's unfortunate is they always on paper have good players on their team, right? But injuries is an issue.
I was about to say
they've been struggling with this whole decade. I mean, if you really want to take it there. So it's like it's one of those things where all the pieces could be in place, but who knows what's going to happen from an injury standpoint. So
they're not really built to sustain crazy injuries this year to any of the top guys.
Exactly. So it's like it would be another gut-wrenching, just heartbreaking type season if any type of injury like that happens again, because it's just rinse and repeat with them.
And I think it also stunt growth. And I think the main thing for the Bulls, whether they make the playoffs or not, you just want to see them take that next step individually as, you know, all those players in the lineup, all the young guys, but as a unit, because, you know, you have to, once again, you have to establish these roles as a young team, and who's going to get these shots, who's going to come in and play defense, who's going to do what on a nightly basis, basically. So,
is it possible that we, and when I say we as a collective NBA fan base, have overrated Lauri Markkanen? And the reason I say that is, do you see a world where Lauri doesn't reach the potential that we've set for him? Yeah,
I think so. I think also from a statistical standpoint this year, it could be a slightly down year because they have so many guys on paper who can contribute double-digit scoring on a nightly basis. And I think the thing with Lowry, where it's going to be, I think he's going to have to consistently, he's going to have to take way more threes, but he has to shoot it at a percentage where it's not wasted as a 7-footer. And I think that's been a criticism of him too. Not only he has to get better on defense, but he has to shoot a better percentage. He has to be more efficient just as a 7-footer because, you know, if you're shooting a lot of jumpers, it's still, you know, you kind of negate the ability of being a 7-footer in terms of that more elite percentage. So he has to he has to make it up in other areas where like he gets better around the basket or what is that thing that gets him or keeps them at a high percentage.
Yeah, I would like to see him develop some good go-to moves in the post to kind of
just a few, yeah.
Yeah, two is all you need with his shooting ability. You know, just something to kind of mix it up from his arsenal and take some pressure off of himself.
Yeah, I think setting Ramsey is going to be good for him too, setting him up more for more looks. But I think with Lowry, he just has to be. He can't lose his confidence in the shot. He has to shoot.
Yeah.
Even if he's struggling, he has to stick with it and kind of just take these shots because the Bulls are going to need that offensive output from him this year.
For sure. So overall in the East, any narratives or storylines that are particularly captivating to you, or is it just more of a let's see how things play out? It's too early.
I think it's more of a let's see how things play out, but what I will say is it's going to be more competitive than it has been. I know we've been training towards that the last couple of years anyway, but it's going to be more competitive from the standpoint where not only is there more parity in the East, there's a couple teams outside of, like I said, the Bucks and the Sixers. You don't really know the rest of that order, 3 through 8, or like what teams are going to jockey and what teams are going to stand out.
Yeah,
we can see the Magic take a leap this shit. We can see, like you said, the Pacers, the Celtics, and the Nets are all up there.
Yeah.
The Raptors are still holdovers, and then you have a lot of teams trying to make it. The Bulls, the Pistons, all these other teams, the Hawks. So I think there's going to be a lot of jockeying for position the entire year.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the best summation of the East. It seemed like last year there was some lukewarmness to that conference in terms of just watchability and excitement, but there's a lot more to look forward to this season with the Eastern Conference, especially with people like Kyrie coming over. Obviously, you lose a Kawhi, but the shakeup of the East and just kind of the hierarchy of everything, I think, will make for a very intriguing year. All right, so moving on over to the Western Conference, quote-unquote loaded conference. We can start with, let's do Sacramento. That cool?
Yeah, Sacramento, start Pacific Division.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Sacramento. First of all, I think we got Buddy in the news complaining. Is it Buddy?
Complaining.
What's going on with Buddy? I've been seeing his name pop up in the news. What's the deal with my man Buddy here?
He's it's crazy because when I first heard the story, I think what was he turning down? I think it was $90 million.
Yes.
It sounds crazy, but when you think about the contracts that have been dished out the last couple of seasons, it's not as ridiculous as it seems. This is a guy who averages 20 points, shoots over 40% from the three. It's just he hasn't done it long enough for him to, in my eyes, for him to be caping for it like this. If you do it again this year, then I'm okay. Like, this is back-to-back seasons, averaging 20, shooting 40 from three. I get it. Like, you should be a $90 million player and beyond. But I just don't think he's been doing it for long enough for him to say that, this is like basically, he feels insulted by that offer.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of off base with that. But
yeah.
I like the confidence, though. I'll say that. Hey, I like his confidence.
As long as he can package that up, ball it up, and carry that into the season and go out there and try and bust somebody's head.
They're going to need it because they're a team that's they finished 9th last year. They were on the outside looking in by a few games. I think they were 39-43. So they were on the cusp of the playoffs. But honestly, the moves they made in the offseason, they added some vets where their goal, it seems like at least, they're trying to make a postseason push and make one of those final couple spots in the West.
Yeah. And
they added Ariza, Dwayne Dedman, Corey Joseph, former champion.
Corey Joe.
Rashawn Holmes. They added a lot of veterans where these guys figured to all be rotation players and factor into what they want to be a winning lineup this year in Sacramento.
Bagley starting for sure this year, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, he should.
Any competition there? No.
I mean, Bielitsa just because of shooting, but I would definitely start Bagley just because, you don't even have that Willie Cauley-Stein.
Right.
No, they're replacing him with Dedman, who I think Dedman can pretty much duplicate his production. Mm-hmm. But, I think you need that punch up front with Bagley. I think he's going to be able to provide that consistent scoring and expound upon. I think he averaged 12 points as a rookie, or 12, 13 points as a rookie, and he's probably going to take a jump to the 18-point range this year.
Yeah. So. Where do you see Harrison Barnes' career kind of playing out? Like, clearly, he re-signed, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so is he just going to kind of play that veteran role? Obviously, he's still a really good offensive and defensive player. Played really well for them last year. Is he just going to kind of settle into that veteran role? Or is he going to try and establish this as maybe even his team in some kind of way?
Yeah, I think he has to really just be that consistent guy next to Fox and be that consistent 20-point scorer. You know, they have Fox, Hill, and Barnes. And you guys, they're probably going to count for the majority of the points with Bagley.
Right.
So I think he just has to be that guy who's, don't give me the 12 every night. I need close to 20.
Yeah,
I think he just has to
20. Yeah.
Exactly. He has to be in that range and be aggressive. That's really his main thing. Just be assertive and be aggressive and trust his game, because De'Aaron Fox is going to put a lot of these guys in position to do well, but I just think they need to help him out and, just give him that complimentary scoring, because the Kings, they could sneak into the playoffs with this roster. The West is so loaded, but this is one of those teams they think they have a shot to make it. And
they can consistently catch people slipping is the way I see it.
Throughout the year.
Just steal games that way. Next thing you know,
you think Fox has a beat an all-star spot this year, or you think that's another year away?
In my personal opinion, is another year away, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did it this year. Yeah, Fox is going to make a lot of noise. Like, this is good. In my opinion, this is going to be the breakout year for him in terms of just being on the tongues of everybody from an NBA fan perspective.
Because he did it from a basketball standpoint with the stats from year 1 to year 2.
Exactly.
But this year, it's
just from a name value standpoint, this is the year he takes off with that. Definitely a league pass team, in my opinion.
I see the Kings a league pass team for sure. We didn't talk about Bogdanovich.
I know, he's just
played the 6-man role this year.
Yeah, he could easily start, on another team in the right role. But he's going to play that 6-man role, provide an offensive scoring punch. Very dynamic player. Next up, who do we want to go to?
Let's go to the Suns in the Pacific Division.
Suns.
Go to the Suns. Might be the only team on paper, or one of the few teams on paper in the league where you're like, I don't see the playoffs for them. I don't see how this is going to happen.
It's not quite in the cards. He's kind of a shame with Booker, right? You feel like with a player of his skills and capabilities at this point of his career, he would be playing for something a little more meaningful.
Right.
It kind of seems like he has some lost years in the beginning of his career, which is normally you say that in a later stage, but where do you kind of see... Like, what does this team... I guess what you have to look forward to is the development of Booker in Ayton.
Right.
It's nice that they have a legit point guard, because that was an issue last year.
That's going to help a lot with Rubio. Yeah. It's underrated acquisition.
Just running basic things like pick and roll and pick and pop and things like that nature.
Yeah, they just don't have a lot of depth. And not only that, just... They don't even have the top-heavy, stars to... They don't have the top-heavy lineup to, consistently compete in the West. Booker is very, very good. Same with DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
But there's really not much behind them. Kelly Oubre is pretty good last year. Mikal Bridges is solid as a rookie, but he's still, if they're going to be good, he has to take a tremendous leap. So I just don't know. There's a lot of question marks. Dario Saric is good, but how are they going to use him? Monty Williams, I think he gives you that confidence where the Suns... They can turn it around eventually, but I just don't think it's going to be this year. He has to get these guys on the right track first, especially on defense.
Yeah, they're not ready to make that leap.
They're not.
They're just not
at all. What are we expecting though out of DeAndre Ayton?
Out of DeAndre Ayton, I think just a steady incline of kind of what he built on before. I feel like he had, in a weird way, he kind of had a quiet rookie season. He didn't make a lot of noises, a lot of traditional first-round number 1 overall picks would make. But I think he built on a lot of solid skills and just like learning from the big men that are established in the league. So next season, I kind of see him taking that leap where he kind of asserts his will a little bit more, gets more aggressive, more confident in his abilities, and hopefully just make a bigger step up on the defensive end. To kind of shore up that front court for them.
Right, and I think that's what they really wanted to see, that improvement, because Last year, he was pretty good on offense. He
Yeah.
had 16, but, we even see that this potential for him to be that real go-to guy next to Booker where,
Right.
when he was drafted, they were talking about, another Shaq and Kobe. That's ridiculous, but
man.
I think
That
DeAndre
sounds
Ayton
ridiculous.
can develop into a real go-to guy on
Yeah.
the offensive end. You can dump it into him, and then he'll be able to step out into the threes at some point. So I think Phoenix, watch the development of Ayton. Hopefully, first-round draft pick Cameron Johnson come in and show that he's a real NBA shooter and can play in the rotation and develop into another nice piece next to Booker and Ayton. But
Yeah.
another developmental year in Phoenix, and there's really not going to be a lot to look forward to besides the growth of the young players.
Yeah, not at all. Let's move to Golden State, and then we can do the two LA teams after.
Okay.
So Golden State, obviously, they lost their biggest, or I guess.
Well, he left.
Yeah.
Loser.
Yeah. First of all, Kevin Durant just left. Let's just put it that way.
He just left. So I'm good.
Yeah. Klay Thompson went down trying to help them win a championship in the finals, so he's going to be out. So they're just kind of left with Steph and Draymond. Iguodala obviously departed as well. Got traded away to Memphis, and now he's in a buyout, holdout situation with them. So
hostage situation is a nice way of saying it.
For him, it's probably just a nice vacation, extended vacation. He knows he's going to be back.
One of the best hostage situations you can be in.
Yeah.
But still a hostage situation.
Willing participant. But what are the expectations with this Golden State team with Steph Curry leading, the surge without all of his compadres in tow, with the exception of Draymond?
I've been going back and forth on this. Part of me
Same.
thinks the Warriors are going to be very bad for their standard, and by that I mean 12 to 15 in the West. Part of me says they can hold down the fort. Steph Curry is going to have an MVP type year, and they can be a 5 or 6 seed. The only reason why I'm going back and forth is because we saw the separation of the West last year with 3 through 8. I think it was like a few games, like maybe 3 games between that separate 3 through 8 in the West, and then 9, 10, like right there. It's just so they have no margin for error. And error. They can't really go on extended periods where they're losing, or they have like a 4 or 5 game losing streak or anything like that. And I think with this roster, it's possible just because it's a glaring hole at small forward. Replacing KD is not going to be an easy feat, but they never had a backup plan because you lose Iguodala in the same offseason. McKinney's probably not ready to assume that role as the primary guy.
He's not. They
signed Glenn Robinson, maybe him, but it's not. You're gambling at this point. It's not really like they had a real contingency plan. But when you have KD, you're not thinking about these types of things.
You're not. How can you?
And they didn't even account for obviously Klay Thompson's injury. That was a big thing and happened late. It happened in June, but it's not really like they can just sign marquee free agents, and there's really not that much appeal, especially with KD leaving and Klay getting hurt. So I think the D'Angelo Russell and Steph pairing is going to be really interesting. Russell's going to have a great year, and Steph's going to go off. But this could be a team that they have a lot of young, unproven players. I don't know if they can put it together quickly enough to return to the playoffs. But.
Yeah, and I think you said it best, is like, in terms of their margin of error, it seems like the past, 5-6 years, that's what they had on their side, this margin of error. They had, Steph could have an off night, but Klay has 1,000,000 points.
Right.
Or Draymond has a triple-double.
And KD goes off for 40.
KD goes off for 40. They had such a huge margin for error. And then they flipped to this drastic polar opposite of they almost have no margin for error. So if Curry has a bad night, it's like, who's scoring?
Exactly. Yeah. We've been watching them the preseason a couple times, and they're not completely healthy. They're missing Alec Burks, and Willie Cauley-Stein hasn't played. Kevon Looney, they're thin up front, but this lineup, they started Marquise Chris Green, Jordan Poole, and a few other guys the other day. And I'm not shitting on these players. They're young players, and Jacob Evans, Jordan Poole, Marquise Chris, they're gonna have to develop for the Warriors to get that needed depth this year. But who knows? Like, they're just unproven, and I think it's it's gonna be worth watching what the Warriors young guys do, because you haven't looked at the Warriors in years as a developmental team,
right?
Because they have Steph, but now Steph is the elder statesman. He's the oldest guy on the team. He's 31.
Yeah,
and he's playing with a lot of young guys who need to really prove themselves this year.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think, to come full circle, what you said about them in the beginning is one of those things where this could either go really well, considering the circumstances, or they're going to be really bad.
Yeah.
I think nonetheless, they're still going to be a team you tune into to watch for obvious reasons, the structure and kind of the system and the way they play, and obviously Steph and Draymond still being there. But yeah, this kind of has a huge swing on how it could go.
Yeah, it could be a trying year in Warrior land. I think it will be either way because they're used to competing for titles, but
Yeah.
who knows? I could be completely wrong, and the Warriors could be right back in that conversation, but it's going to take a lot.
It's definitely going to take a lot. Transitioning to the Los Angeles Clippers.
A team that, they have Warrior expectations this year, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
They're looking to, go where the Warriors have been, at least make the finals, and they have sights on winning it all. They have that roster now with, you add arguably the best two-way guys in the league in the same offseason. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. One of the most, I think for me, from a pure fan standpoint, one of the most broken combinations. Like, the Anthony Davis and LeBron combination is broken in terms of that is just seemingly unfair to like a Hornets team that has to play them randomly or any team without any star.
Good luck.
And you're playing these guys, but I think just what Paul George and Kawhi Leonard brings to the table on a nightly basis on both ends, that's unmatched. It's to have one of those guys in your team is crazy. The fact they have two is unreal. So I think it's just their ceiling is just. I mean, they have championship aspirations because of that. Because they have two bona fide number one guys.
Yeah, so there's situations like Boston, right? When you have this team that achieved a ton, like when Kyrie was out, and the team almost made the finals without him.
Right.
He comes back the next year, and the constant is, oh, you add Kyrie, you add Hayward to this team, we're going to be even better considering what we achieved before. When you play things backwards, trust me, I have a point with this. I know I'm going on a tangent.
I'll go for it.
When you play things backwards, you say, oh, well, maybe Kyrie wasn't the best leader, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why this went sour. But with this Clippers team, is it possible that with all they achieved last season, but then you bring in a Kawhi and you bring in a Paul and you try and integrate them and take this team to the next level, that forget it, because you don't anticipate someone like Kawhi and Paul George being a problem.
Right, no, I see what you're saying.
But is there still room for there just being a fit issue?
I think there definitely is.
In terms of like clicking in time to be ready for a title this year.
There definitely is. And the fact that Paul George, it's early, but the fact that he's not going to play until November with the injury, like rehabbing both shoulders.
Both the shoulders.
It's already off to a bad start.
Yeah, that's pretty vital to shooting a basketball, having shoulders. So
yeah, I think for them, it's definitely going to be a lot of that. A lot of Doc Rivers mixing and matching those lineups together because to me, you can just put out both of those guys in any three Clippers and that's a pretty viable lineup. If you have a chance to win, you definitely do.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. I mean, even from the taking the last shot perspective, Kawhi likes to get his. Same with Paul George.
Paul George does too, yeah.
They have to really be facilitators in this team to maximize them. They don't really have a bunch of other get-it-themselves type guys besides Lou Will. He's going to get his, but, you got to keep the Shamits happy. You got to keep guys the shooters, the guys who can make these complimentary points, but keep their scoring up.
Yeah.
But they have the talent, though. I think the thing with the Clippers is going to be the interior play. We know we're going to get from Montrezl Harrell. He's one of the best 6 men in the league, but I think is Zubac ready to be that number one center for a championship team? And even if he doesn't play the real starters minutes, he has to at least be out there and not be in foul trouble and be competent and defend his position and not get cooked by other bigs. And he has to do that on a nightly basis. And we haven't seen that from him yet in the NBA. So
yeah, that's true. In any situation where there's small ball being played, the Clippers are in very, very good shape.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Once everybody's healthy, but I think it's one of those things where if the teams are a lot bigger, like even the next team we're going to talk about, the Lakers, they might be in trouble.
And I think that's the problem. They're direct competition. The team everybody thinks, it's Clippers and the Lakers this year in the West.
Yeah.
The other side, like you said, the Lakers have all these bigs. They have JaVale, Dwight, and all these other bigs that can just throw out there.
Yeah, AD.
Against the Clippers, where besides Harrell, who's obviously able to compete on that type of level, is Zubac ready? And JaMychal Green's good, but is he ready to play that versatile defender spot on both of those positions consistently, the 4 and the 5? So
right.
We'll see. I think the Clippers are going to be in that conversation. Obviously, they're going to be right there with the Lakers.
Yeah.
It's really take your pick at this point, I
Yeah.
think, between those two. Both are early favorites, but we just got to see how the lineup combos play out with the Clippers.
Yeah. And then, I guess transitioning, since we're already kind of combining them into both, but transitioning to the Lakers, they obviously gave up pretty much their whole team to acquire Anthony Davis, but just seeing him and LeBron play together in this short preseason, it already just feels like it was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Once you actually see that product actually out there on the court, it makes sense. The sky's the limit with this team. I think this is another team where this obviously applies to every team, but if they can stay healthy, easily, championship team, and that's not anything groundbreaking. I think most people can assume that.
Exactly. Which new addition do you think is going to have the biggest impact besides Anthony Davis, obviously?
Yeah. I'm setting my sights on Avery Bradley. Okay. I think
over Danny Green.
Over Danny Green, I think.
And Dwight, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually rooting for Dwight to have a really good year.
I think it's going to.
I think it's going to be one of those things where he may not get the touches and the ability to do what he wants to do on a nightly basis, but he's going to have some really monster games, I think, where people are going to be like, oh, Dwight Howard, kind of forgetting that he's still capable of doing this. And I guess what helps for him is he doesn't have to do it on a nightly basis. So
not only
when he can give it to him,
yeah. Not only that, but you got him going against second unit bigs the majority of his time out there. Like barring injury to JaVale or AD, he's not going to start. He doesn't need to start.
Doesn't need to.
He can go out there, grab double-digit boards at least.
Yeah.
Get whatever offense is available with tip-ins and roll finishes and whatever can get in the paint.
Yeah.
And, just go from there, really. Just play that role. And that's going to be a real crucial role because if JaVale is in foul trouble or if AD is even in foul trouble or, you want to play both of them together or mix around these lineups, you have that flexibility because Dwight Howard can just play 20 minutes and potentially grab 20 rebounds. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, but with Avery Bradley, I just think it's going to be kind of a redemption year for him. Ever since he left Boston, things haven't gone exactly as well as he showed he can play in the past. But I think this is kind of the right situation for him to get back on track, even though, he's at an older stage in his career. But get back on track and showing that kind of two-way, being able to knock down threes, but then also lock up defenders on most nights. There's still people who are going to kind of have their way with them, but be a really solid defender for them. That classic 3-and-D guy, I guess.
Who's gonna finish higher in the MVP race, LeBron or AD? AD.
Yeah, I think LeBron's gonna kind of because LeBron has the potential to flirt with that triple-double average this year.
Yeah.
Other than have to fight for rebound positioning with all those bigs down there, but. My knee-jerk reaction, as you heard, it would be AD. Yeah,
I would have to agree just because even LeBron on media day was saying how they want to
feature.
They'd be fools not to feature Anthony Davis, and even I get it. Like AD at this point in his career, he's just entering his prime, and this guy is pretty much unstoppable on offensive end, and defensively, it feeds into his defensive energy if he's just killing on offense. So I think LeBron's going to facilitate it very well, and I think the fact that they might go with Avery Bradley over Rondo in the first unit, you can really have LeBron as that primary guy feeding AD the ball and just building that chemistry. And by the time the playoffs hits, the Lakers going to be on, just click on all cylinders.
For sure. All
right, let's switch over to the Northwest. Let's see, who should we start with? Let's start with the Timberwolves.
Timberwolves? A. Wiggins?
I don't know until Timberwolves fans feel about him right now.
Yeah.
he hasn't had the best preseason so far, and he's been pretty inconsistent. The Wolves, honestly, they don't have a ton to look forward to this year. I don't want to be too skeptical, but I don't really see what excites you about this roster. They didn't really add anybody.
Not much, yeah.
Significant, in my opinion, to at least move the needle. Like, they have guys that I like. Jared Culver was a good pick in the draft. He's going to be pretty versatile and play a nice role.
They got NBA champion Jordan Bell.
Add some depth behind Karl Towns.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I read something recently where they were like, don't count us out or some type of campaign like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going to be counting them out.
I was about to say, I'm going to start counting kind of soon. I mean, maybe not October, but early November. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a hard team to get excited about, but nonetheless, the most intriguing thing for me or exciting thing is just the potential growth once again for Karl-Anthony Towns and to see what he can really do with just more experience and time under his belt to kind of expand his game. So, just from a growth standpoint, Karl-Anthony Towns is probably the most exciting draw for the Timberwolves at this point for me. Anything else than that, I'm not really interested.
Yeah, and it's like, at this point, I was going to say Andrew Wiggins is a part of that too, but it's just, He's sort of regressed, you know. But it's just crazy because, at this point, he's 24. I think this is year 5 or 6 now. I think it's 5. At this point, he should be turning heads and, walking into his prime and as one of the premier players in the Western Conference. But maybe it's probably been time for a change of scenery, but he just has to get his confidence back somehow. I don't really know what that looks like, but it's just efficiency. He's just not making shots right now, and he doesn't really contribute enough else in any other area where it's like, if he's not scoring, then
if he's not scoring,
you even question why he should be starting type of thing today. So.
If he's not scoring, you forget what he's out there sometimes,
Right. But I think with Josh Okogie and Jared Culver, there's some intrigue in the backcourt there at least.
That's true.
Or on the wing at least to, maybe even push him, maybe even motivate Wiggins to play better. But I'd even look out for, if they can move him, they're probably going to start shopping Andrew Wiggins pretty soon.
Yeah.
That's probably the main storyline to watch in Minnesota this year. I can't really see anything crazy. I like Robert Covington. Hey, he's good, but
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this isn't, in my opinion, one of those hot league pass teams that you're going to be checking for every single night they're playing. But with the right matchup, you want to check in and see what Towns and Wiggins are doing. Knock yourself out.
At your own risk. That's basically giving me a disclaimer.
Yeah.
I might as well move along in the Northwest then. Who's next on Northwest?
Well, OKC? Chris Paul, the return?
The return to Oklahoma City. Chris Paul, it's gonna be. I don't know what to make of this team. Like, I want to say, team. I want to say they're not gonna be that great, but this team is a lot of vets here.
Yeah,
a lot of guys who know how to win basketball games. It's just they have a few solid vets. They have Chris Paul, obviously. Danilo Gallinari came over in that deal too. Well, in the Clipper deal.
Yeah.
Along with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have Steven Adams obviously still there. But then after that, you have some unproven young players. You have Terrence Ferguson, who's still trying to develop his footing. You have Hami Diallo, slam dunk champ, who's trying to take a big step forward this year.
Yeah.
Darius Bazley, number 1 or first round draft pick. There's a few guys where if the young players can mesh with the vets, it's another team that, I guess, similar to, it's a little different with Atlanta and Chicago, but because they have more established vets.
Right.
If the young players can gel with the veterans, then I think it's a team that can push for one of those playoff spots too. Yeah,
I mean, Chris Paul is at least saying all the right things in terms of his mindset on how he's approaching leading this team from a veteran perspective.
Yeah,
molding and mentoring Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but it's just hard to see. And you actually made me think about when you brought up Steven Adams. It's just like, how is he maintaining with his skill set and the way that the game is played? of just being like a 7-foot bruiser.
Yeah.
Like, kind of doesn't do much else. Like,
man, I saw him take a three the other day.
Floor? Or did he?
He actually made one, yeah.
Okay, so he's trying to evolve his game.
He's really just perfected his position, that role, like you said, being that real classic throwback, bruiser type big.
Yeah.
Being tough and reliable on both ends, really.
Just muscling his way out there.
He's honestly, look at this roster. I would say third best player for sure, without a doubt. This guy is maybe even best or second best some nights. He's just very steady, very reliable.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys you can really count on. It's just, I think it's about the other young players, like I said, but I really do like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Diallo and Bazley, if they can get these guys on the right track at some point, that's a pretty good.
True.
And they all have size too, so it's a team that can.
Versatile, long.
Yeah, defensively, you see that upside, and they're all pretty athletic too. So, I think Billy Donovan has some work to do to mesh these young guys in, but if he can, the Thunder at least, they have some league pass appeal, right? I think they're going to win some games, but from an excitement standpoint, do you see it from the Thunder?
Yeah, I will be tuning in to Thunder games if for any reason just to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play, but it's also just a really weird, quirky team, and I feel like those are some of the best teams to watch, and you never know what you're getting.
Right, yeah.
That evening when you tune in, so yeah, I will be checking for them on League Pass.
Yeah, there's some intrigue there, and then there's going to be that storyline of Chris Paul the whole season. If they're going to trade him, or if they're not going to trade him.
Yeah, and he's going to continue to say all the right things in the media, but on the back end be pulling strings trying to get up out of there.
Right, and I mean, it depends if they're winning, too. Chris Paul's not really going to stir up the pot regardless, I feel like. But, if they're not winning, then who knows how things could go.
Yeah. All right, so the Utah Jazz, obviously their big free agent acquisition, Mike Conley Jr. Actually, I was listening to a podcast with, I want to say it was Zach Lowe. I think Mike Conley said he's not a junior. He said someone.
No.
He said someone just added
one of the
that.
biggest myths of my NBA fandom. What?
He said someone just added it to his name one time, like, I don't know if reporting or whatnot, and it just picked up from there, and everybody kept saying that, and he just never corrected it. But he said he's not a junior.
Well, that's news to me. Wow, that's weird. Did not know that.
So his Wikipedia page says junior, but I'll have to find that podcast. I swear he said this.
You sure it's Mike Conley?
I promise. Maybe he was joking, but
that would be hilarious. Either way, somebody just added a junior. I mean, hey, like one person does it, it gets popular. Yeah, so things go.
But so big free agent acquisition, Mike Conley. How do you feel about the state of affairs for this Utah team, considering kind of how they fizzled out last year in the playoffs? What kind of stability does he bring to that point guard position that Rubio couldn't?
I think he gives them more dynamic option, scoring wise. That really just overall performance wise, Mike Conley can get you that a rep for that enormous game.
Yep.
And still have the solid defensive numbers. And I think he's really going to take that pressure off Donovan Mitchell from a pure creation standpoint. And not only creating for others, which obviously Rubio did well in his own right, or obviously he's one of the best passing point guards in the league, but yeah, Mike Conley can distribute, but also be very creative getting his own offense.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Utah definitely missed because in the playoffs, they were able to key in on Donovan Mitchell and make things more difficult for him by sending extra defenders and force him into more difficult decisions. But with Conley, you can't really do that because he can improvise and create some other stuff for himself or a teammate.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is, they added Bojan Bogdanovic too. They added some shooting and scoring. The problem with the Jazz I see is that the 4 spot, they have some, Royce O'Neal, who's he can play 2 through 4.
Yeah.
Pretty good versatile role player, but he's not an ideal 4-man. Neither is Bogdanovic. They lost favors to the Pelicans, so they didn't really replace that spot. You're not going to start Ed Davis and Gobert. That's a little too redundant.
No way, yeah.
So, Jeff Green, I don't think he's going to start. I don't know where at the 4 if they can. And no one really plays traditional positions anymore anyway. But
Yeah.
if you look at their tough matchups like the Lakers or any of these other teams that have these top 4 men, are the Jazz going to be able to have that size to compete with all the rest of these teams?
Yeah. I think one thing to look at is Donovan Mitchell's transition from this USA basketball experience. So obviously he was kind of a lead dog out there. He was doing a lot of good stuff just on the floor, showing his confidence has improved, getting in a groove of things. So hopefully that can transfer over to his third campaign in the NBA. Second season kind of fizzled a little bit from all the hype and excitement he had the first season. So kind of as a correction to that season now, things can hopefully stabilize for him in terms of putting it all together, with all these, D-Wade comparisons and whatnot.
Right.
Hopefully he can just come into his own as Donovan Mitchell and not worry about any of those comparisons and things like that. But the ship, I think, kind of goes where his game elevates to.
Yeah, I agree. Do you see them as one of those teams right behind the Lakers and the Clippers as a true contender in the West? I think they definitely see themselves as that, but do you think they did enough in the offseason? Or even do you think they have the roster to withstand that or even go far in the West?
I actually think they do. I think this is one of those teams where I look at the moves they made and how these pieces can fit together. And I think these pieces are going to fit together really well. I think they have the right guys, the right group, the right mindset, and they're all just really versatile players. This is one of the things where I just see it kind of clicking, and because of that clicking and chemistry and development, I think they can go really far in the playoffs for sure.
I agree, and they have that defensive mentality set by Rudy Gobert
and Quinn Snyder,
back-to-back defensive player of the year.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert, coming off a good international summer, and like I was about to say, Quinn Snyder, I think, is a really, really good coach. And he's going to get these guys up to snuff for maximizing their potential, I would say.
Definitely, and Utah doesn't have a sexy roster on paper, but they get the job done.
Right, from just a pure nuts and bolts basketball perspective, they'll be fine. Yeah.
All right, switching gears to another Northwest Division team with sights set on, greater heights this year. Even though they've reached the conference finals last year, the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
They're looking for more. They added Hassan Whiteside in the offseason.
Blocks.
hopefully it changes scenery for him.
Yeah.
He can get back to being a consistent shot blocker, rebounder.
A lot of people are skeptical.
I think he.
I have the benefit of that for him.
Yeah,
I think it's a good role. It's a good. Or let me say, it's a good environment for his role. He can just come in and defend, run the floor. Like he's not have to do a ton.
Right, and I think that change of scenery is perfect because I think in Miami, his path was so he burst into the scene and then he had the good years and then they paid him $100 million, expect him to make this leap into being this real go-to guy. And I think it's just maybe he's not that player. Yeah. I think it's very good. Or he can be a very good complementary big or complementary piece.
Yeah.
I think Portland's hoping for that with Nurkic going to be out for, who knows? He might miss at least until after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Whiteside, and they still have Zach Collins there.
Yeah.
They traded Myers Leonard, so his role is definitely going to go up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have much behind that. They have Powell, but he's not going to play a ton this year. Scala Bissiere, they want him to take another leap, but it's obviously everything starts and ends with Dame and CJ.
Yeah. I don't know. I've heard kind of the sentiment that they've peaked in terms of what they could achieve. It's how do you see them actually exceeding what they did last season, which I can't.
Yeah, I thought last year was
that was their time to strike.
They were up double digits in every game against the Warriors, too. Yeah. It was just an impossible series to win without Nurkic, but KD didn't even play that series.
He didn't.
He was down in the Rocket series. So.
Yeah, they got smoked. So, it's unfortunate. I think this is going to be one of those teams where you look at, their best two players, Dame and CJ, and, they get all the accolades and praise and respect as individuals and what they can provide of value to this team. But it's you don't ever truly expect them to make it to the finals, I guess, at this point. And it seemed like last year is kind of, like we said, that pinnacle for this core as currently constructed.
Yeah, I agree. I think this could be one of those slip through the cracks teams where, like, we're talking about, the team here has an injury or whatever. Or what, like, I think they have the perfect roster where if things don't go perfectly for a couple other teams, and if they're not able to stay healthy or whatever, Blazers have the continuity and the star power where they're right there. They really just need a couple breaks to go their way. Maybe another piece or two, but I don't think their roster is that bad
It's not.
To come out of the West this year, even with the additions of the Lakers, the Clippers, and everybody else. I just think they need some luck on their side.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good mentality to have. So you don't have to be this A+ knocked out the park home run team. You can be the team that's just ready to strike when the iron gets hot enough,
Right.
So, yeah, I think with that in mind, they're in good shape. They don't need anything to worry about. Just keep playing. Keep playing the Portland Trail Blazers brand of basketball, and they'll be fine. Pau Gasol, is he playing this year?
He's signed.
Say no more.
That's the perfect way to describe it, I'm sure. He's signed. He's on the roster.
Say no more.
We shall see.
So with the Denver Nuggets this year, that's the last team we got in the Northwest Division. Let's see. Starting lineup wise, we got the same starting five. Off the bench, though, it looks like we have the addition of Michael Porter Jr.
Oh yeah.
Long awaited. Missed all of last season with the back injury, and various other ailments. What kind of I guess value do you see him providing this experienced team who went through a hard, grueling battle with Portland in the playoffs last year? And essentially you're just adding, another top tier talent along with, a relatively good bench, in the fold.
Right. And that's the key word, experience. Like you said, they're battle tested. They have a set rotation.
Yeah.
And it's funny you ask me this question. I'm actually working on an article right now about him, his impact or potential impact this year.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout for that, delayedgamehoops.com.
There we go.
It's going to hit the homepage in a couple of days, but anyways, Michael Porter, I think for him, the best role is to carve out those utility minutes where he's going to come in and potentially play behind Barton and Grant, just try to find time behind. But, they already have guys established at each position.
Right, but work them in slowly.
Right, with Craig, you added, I said Grant earlier, but Millsap, behind Millsap and Barton. But you already have Torrey Craig and Jeremy Grant there, both forward spots. So I think Michael Porter's going to pretty much just get in where he fits in, right? Like, he doesn't really have a clear role to play. And that's why I think, we saw him in the second half of a preseason game where Mike Malone's trying to work him in, build his confidence, but also, they have to win. This is a team, they won 54 games last year.
Yeah.
They're expected to compete for the title in the West. I think that's a realistic expectation too, depending
for sure.
Piggybacking on what they did last year. But I think Michael Porter Jr. can give them something redeemable this year. Then this is a team that I wouldn't even say call them the favorites, but if you need one of those, the team right after the Lakers and the Clippers, like those are the two popular picks right now. Denver is the team to hop on that bandwagon. Because they're deep at every position, too deep.
Yeah. And,
they have guys who've been there before, and they're just hungry for more after what happened last year after they lost in the second round.
Do you see Jokic as a repeat MVP top candidate, or?
I think so. I think they got win enough games for him to be there. I think he's going to have more competition this year with Embiid for the All-NBA first team. But, we're talking about, I think it's a toss-up with those two guys. So,
yeah.
This guy's on the short list of best players in the league. He definitely made our different breed list this year, heading into the season. So, and he was on there last year. So, I think Jokic he's starting to enter his prime years. This guy's got a lot better. Same with Jamal Murray. He got a lot better last year. And I don't know. They have a lot of players who just know what they're supposed to do. Monte Morris had a great role last year. Malik Beasley. These are young players who have confidence and roles.
Yeah.
A lot of teams are searching for one or the other, but the Nuggets seem to have both of that. So
Agreed.
I think for me, best case scenario for the Nuggets is championship.
Yeah,
I think
taking that leap to the finals. No, definitely. I think that's what they have their goals set on too. So with the Southwest Division, we can kick it off with the Memphis Grizzlies, who had the second overall pick in the most recent draft, took John Morant. Do you think, first of all, he's worthy of the second pick? And do you think there's potential for another rookie to kind of do the 2020 hindsight and say, oh, this rookie shouldn't have potentially been the second pick instead of John Morant? Or you think there's no way?
I don't want to close the door just because
you never know.
Don't know. I mean, there's so many good prospects. I felt like in this draft, I think it was kind of underrated in that aspect.
Yeah.
But the two can't miss to me were the guys who were taking 1 and 2. So
right.
Obviously Zion, but with John Morant, I think he's every bit deserving of that number 2 selection. And
yeah,
it's just funny seeing these teams that haven't really classically had these dynamic guards. Utah never really had a guy like Donovan Mitchell before he got there.
Right.
The Grizzlies haven't really had a guy like Morant ever. So it's kind of cool to see these type of dynamic, explosive guards playing for these smaller markets who traditionally you would think he's playing for just the Knicks or something, or a team that I guess it makes more sense to have like a type of star talent. But
yeah,
I think he's every bit. Everything is advertised, honestly. His body control is incredible. He's a great distributor, ridiculously athletic and quick.
Great leaper.
Yeah, I think that combination with him, Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. Butchered it. Damn, my bad. I think with Morant and Triple J, Brandon Clark, you have a good trio to build around. And the Grizzlies, they're not gonna win games this year, but just straight up. But they have a nice core to follow and to watch throughout the year. This is definitely league pass team.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, even some Dylan Brooks action in there here and there. No, this is a team you can definitely tune into for league pass watchability.
Yeah, they returned Bruno Caboclo too, right? He had a good finish of the year.
Yeah.
Bruno. They have a few intriguing players in this team. I mean, situation with Josh Jackson, we'll see what happens with him. They started the year with the Memphis Hustle in the G League.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can, get called up and make a difference this year. Mm-hmm. Grayson Allen is probably going to play a prominent role. I mean, I don't know. There's a few young players to at least pay attention to this year.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like I said, I think wins are going to be hard to come by in Memphis.
We could pivot to the Dallas Mavericks. Were you impressed with what you saw from Porzingis so far?
I am. I didn't think Porzingis was going to be this. I mean, it's hard to say he's fully in rhythm because the season hasn't started in his preseason, but he looks active. His knee looks fine, which is the best sign.
Yeah.
That's really the main thing.
He's moving well.
Yeah. It's weird because I think Dallas is definitely one of those teams that thinks they can compete for a playoff spot, and I agree with them. I think Luka gives you that ability to put him at any spot. So they can put Luka at the 1, the 2, the 3, play with those two guards, do DeLon Wright and Jalen Brunson, Luka.
Yep.
Porzingis, Maxi Kleber. They have a lot of different lineup combinations, basically what I'm trying to say, with Luka as your star, as your primary player.
Yeah.
And that duo in itself, Luka and KP, that's going to be a really cool duo to watch just because they bring a lot of different things to the table. Luka gives you, that versatility on the offensive end, do it all. KP is a very good offensive player, but then also he can get blocks and protect the paint. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be a fun season in Dallas. It's going to be even though, that man is gone, I respect to Dirk, salute an amazing career. But it's a new era of Mavericks basketball. I think it's actually going to be an exciting year this year.
Yeah, no, the Mavericks, I mean, what a transition to go from Dirk right into KP. But then, having Luka Doncic in tow as well.
Exactly.
So, this team is definitely set up for, a good future if they continue to build with solid pieces around them. Interested to see what happens with Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, he was kind of in New York Knicks captivity for a long time.
Captivity.
Just automatic inflated field goal percentages because he had to take so many, last second shots and
right.
Just jacking things up. But I feel like him actually setting into a real, like, responsible, mature role on this team is on the table. At least, whether he accepts it or not, that's a different story.
You think he's going to be able to play that 6-man role and just be that instant offense guy for them?
I think that's what his goal should be. I think he should be working hard to, like, just lock down that role. Because I think his game is tailor-made to just come in, get buckets, defend, as best to his ability.
And they're going to need people to space that floor with Porzingis and Doncic.
Yeah.
You need to keep that floor wide open.
Wide open, yeah.
And Hardaway Jr., he has no conscience when he gets it going. He'll just launch.
Exactly.
For better or worse. He can definitely catch fire.
Yeah, he's gonna win them some games.
Yeah. He can
getting hot.
Yeah, he can catch fire. And I think, like you said, if he can buy into that role, and that, like you said, that should be his goal this year, being that supreme 6-man and just spacing the floor for the most part.
Yeah.
I think the Mavericks are going to be one of those surprise teams. They have strong guard play. You have DeLon Wright, like I said. Jalen Brunson had a great rookie year.
Yeah.
He's going to have I think he's going to have an even better sophomore year. So
yeah.
Still got Barea, Seth Curry. They got a few guys.
Yeah. No, this is going to be a really... If they're not a really good team, they'll still be entertaining if they're losing.
Yeah.
Which is a win-win for an NBA fan.
They're going to put out some tall-ass lineups, too. I saw them put out Porzingis and Boban earlier today. That's crazy. I don't know.
It's a lot of height.
Was it 7'2" or 7'3" and like 7'6" or something like that?
Yeah, that's a lot of height. Yeah.
7'3" and 7'3". Oh, Boban's listed as 7'3". But it's taller than that.
Yeah, I thought so, too. So, San Antonio Spurs, what's going on in San Antonio? What'd they do this offseason?
They basically returned DeJounte Murray, which is going to be,
from injury, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much a free agent acquisition in a way, but not really. They
if you want to spin it that way, sure.
Right, yeah. They drafted Keldon Johnson late in the first round, but he's probably not going to play much.
Yeah.
But they're looking for the growth of their young guys, kind of similar to how Derek White took that step forward with Murray out last year.
Yeah.
Bryn Forbes was great last year, and he's going to be even better this year, I think. He's their best shooter.
Mm-hmm.
But, Lonnie Walker the fourth, guys like this, Jakob Poeltl, they want to see. I think Greg Popovich definitely wants to see these guys take a step forward in the rotation. But I don't know. I think do you think the Spurs are going to can make any noise in the West, or you think it's just they have one of those middling rosters?
This is definitely a middling roster. It's the best way to categorize it. It's one of those things where you can't place a whole ton of faith in this team in the context of the 2019-2020 Western Conference, but if they were to excel in any way, you would chalk it up to the system and Greg Popovich and kind of the things they're doing over there. So yeah, it's kind of that's the spectrum for me in terms of this team.
Yeah, they're pretty similar to last year in terms of roster makeup. It's just, I don't know. I just don't see how they can maximize this roster as a contender.
Yeah.
Super best case. What are they, like the 5th seed or something like that? 4th or 5th?
Super best case.
And that's reaching for the stars, I think, this year.
Yeah.
They have to make a decision, I think, coming up with their roster and the direction. We were talking about earlier when we kicked off the podcast with the Hornets, talking about how they're going to definitely go into rebuild mode, but with the Spurs, they still have a lot of these good, older, veteran players. Obviously, all-stars still. LaMarcus Aldridge. You still got DeMar DeRozan there. Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, Bellinelli. They just have to figure out if they're going to start with that push the young guys, with the DeJounte Murrays of the world, or are they going to actually stay with the older veterans and try to compete for the playoffs?
This reminds me a lot of the Paxson Foreman retooling system. This is a team that likes to retool
instead of completely reboot, rebuild.
Yeah. You gotta pick one. Retooling just means you're middling, like we started with this. So.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen with San Antonio, but nonetheless, you just get the feeling that there's a cap. Even with adding a guy like DeJounte Murray back. All right, moving on to the Houston Rockets. How do you feel about this pairing with Harden and Westbrook in terms of longevity? Do you see this becoming one of those situations where they're barking at each other on the court and the body language is bad and all these different things? Or are they going to figure it out? There's going to be some growing pains, but they'll be fine.
I think it's definitely growing pains, and the reason why I'll say they won't bicker, at least publicly or anything like that, is because they're good friends.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's ever going to spill into the court. From a basketball standpoint, it's not the best fit, but these guys are two bona fide studs. So you just figure at some point they're going to figure it out.
Right.
They both like to break down and penetrate. We know that. Westbrook hasn't traditionally played great off the ball.
Nope.
Harden isn't best just spot. I mean, come on. Obviously, isn't best just spotting up. You want to keep the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
24/7, pretty much. Same with Westbrook. So
yeah,
they just have to. He has to stagger them a lot and make sure they're not on the floor. They have lineups where Westbrook can do his thing and vice versa. Yeah. Harden needs those solo lineups where he's just surrounded by shooters and breaking down, penetrating, doing his thing. So Mike D'Antoni just has to. They're gonna want threes regardless, whoever is in there. So he has to definitely play with these lineup combinations where he can maximize the threes with each of them on the floor. So.
Right.
I think. Do you think Houston is a true finals contender this year?
I think on paper you have to say why wouldn't they be, right?
Right.
It's just you just keep going back to how is the fit gonna happen, because it's one of those things where if things gel. What team were we saying about this recently? If things gel, it's going to be really good. I mean, I guess that was Golden State.
Yeah, Golden State. There are a few.
There's a few other. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are kind of in this position where it's like on paper, it's like this team should be really good.
Right.
But you just don't know with, as you pointed out, that off-ball situation with Harden and with Westbrook. Like, one of them has the ball. The other one is going to be a requirement if they want to be successful to be doing some off-ball stuff and not just standing there.
Right.
So, yeah, I can see them, with all that being said, I can see them fighting with all these other teams for that top echelon in the West.
It's just weird in an offseason where you add Russell Westbrook. I mean, obviously they swapped him for Chris Paul, but it's not a slam dunk.
It's not a slam dunk. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's just strange that's like that. Not only because of what the other teams did, but I think it's because the natural basketball fit isn't. It's not 100% yet. We have to see it come to fruition and see how they're able to mesh with each other after all these years.
Right.
Because they went off. It's very unique. You see, I don't think we've ever really seen it where like these two close teammates were where they were. Their points in their careers, and now it's just Harden has, he's gone exponentially above and beyond what he was doing. Okay, see, same with Westbrook after Harden and Durant left, with the triple doubles and everything.
Yeah.
So we'll just see. My problem with them, I don't think they have enough up front behind Capella to compete if he gets hurt. If he goes down for any extended period of time.
You don't believe in Tyson and Dene?
Man, I love Tyson Chandler, but he's still older, I don't think Tyson Chandler he can't play 30 minutes anymore and expect him to win. So
no way.
It's just they're putting a lot of stock in the older bigs and Capella, and if any of that goes wrong, then they're going to be playing ultra small, which, to them, I guess they don't care, but who knows if they can actually compete for a title that way.
Yeah. But agreed. And then to cap things off, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, who had
a real roster overhaul.
Yeah, obviously last year they had Anthony Davis on their team. This year they do not.
I would say this is the most interesting roster overhaul in the league because not only did they lose a star, they potentially gained one.
In the same summer.
In the same and a star that could potentially go above and beyond what Anthony Davis did at some point.
Yeah.
Which is
on multiple levels
to think about.
Yeah.
How good do we think Zion's going to be in year one? Because in the preseason, he's like, 23 points on 71% shooting. And no one's looking for him to do that the entire season just because, that field goal percentage is crazy unsustainable.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's his first year. He's got to come out shoot 60% from the field as a rookie or close to.
I think it's a strange situation because Zion's a guy where there's so much hype and there's so much ESPN coverage and there's so much, media hoopla about him and highlights, house highlights and all this stuff. So from a certain level, people know about him and what he's capable of, right? But at the same time, I feel like this first year, he's still going to be surprising people on the court.
Yeah.
With things they didn't know he could do.
Yeah.
Maybe because he couldn't utilize it in a certain way at Duke or when he was in high school. So, in general, you know what he can do, but there's still a lot of tricks he has in his bag. As you can see, even just in the preseason where he has all these like shifty little like pivot layups where he's like changing hands at the last second. His hang time is way more deceptive than you would think. So I think this whole first season he's going to kind of be keeping people off balance and surprising them. And then maybe in his second year, people will kind of get in tune with that. But then at the same time, he's going to be gaining more confidence.
Right.
So I just think where all this is going is he's just going to continue to get better every single year.
Yeah, man.
The sky is the limit.
It's crazy because, like, I don't think I hate to gas rookies. But
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a rookie with his body control combined with the level of speed and power that he has. And it's just nothing is clumsy. He doesn't have,
no.
I mean, knock on wood, he doesn't have, like, real clumsy movements. Like, it's not like he's out there getting in the way of himself with his size and I don't know. He's just able to do what he wants to a degree on the basketball court. So
yeah,
I think the bigger storyline though is going to be the surrounding parts and what they do. If we're talking about New Orleans as a possible playoff team, you have Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram over in the trade. They have to prove themselves. I think Ingram could potentially be, if not their top scorer, the second leading scorer. Lonzo Ball,
you got the retooled jump shot.
Yeah, and I think he's going to flirt. Best case, he could flirt with triple-double numbers in terms of just what he does in the overall, what he does on the floor on a nightly basis. He could have that type of impact. Drew Holiday's obviously two-way star.
He's gonna do his thing. They
have a cool little roster. Derek Favors in the interior. I mean,
JJ Redick shooting threes.
Yeah. Nikhil Walker, Alexander Walker too. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin.
Yeah,
he's really good. I mean, he played so far in the preseason. He looks like you have to play him.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's going to get some minutes, for sure.
I think New Orleans has a fun, young roster. This is legit. I think we're talking about league pass teams.
Oh, no, yeah.
This is if not top 5, it's top 3 or it's up there.
Top 3, in my opinion. Something really funny I keep realizing whenever people are talking about this team is Josh Hart is such an afterthought.
I know.
Even he obviously, you remember he had that amazing summer league. Last year. Had huge expectations going into the season for the Lakers, and it was actually, contributing in his own way. Was a part of this package, but he just becomes an afterthought. Like even when we just talked about it, like he did not come up until right now.
Right.
Where does he fit into the depth chart?
That's a good question because behind Holiday, who's obviously already a high usage guy, you have to play Redick, right? You need that shooting.
Yeah.
There's going to be nights where Alvin James is going to play that veteran. He's going to play the veteran Etuan Moore over him, too, because, he can play 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It just depends on who's shooting well. If Josh Hart is having a stretch where he's struggling from 3, he might not even play at all. I think it's just New Orleans has a lot at the guard spot, and he's going to have to really prove himself in terms of minutes this year.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But even Frank Jackson, he's another good young player. That he's going to be in a fight for minutes too behind Lonzo and Alexander Walker. But
yeah,
I think the Pelicans have one of the most fun rosters in the league, and I think that's something that we haven't really seen. Even in Anthony Davis years, they never really had like a super fun roster.
Yeah. It was like you're tuning in for Davis pretty much, and maybe some Drew Holiday here and there, but this is just from top to bottom. It's a team you're really excited to watch. A lot of youth, a lot of running, but then also veteran presence in there, like we said.
You think, what is the best case for them playoffs this year? And do you think Zion, hands down, Rookie of the Year, or do you think anybody else is going to challenge him?
I think hands down he's a Rookie of the Year. It's just one of those things where you have all this, skepticism and doubts and whatnot, and then you just see him actually play against these grown men.
Seriously.
And he's a kid and he's dominating.
Yeah.
It's like he can only get better.
It's just, I'm looking for stuff to nitpick.
No, I know.
The stuff I'm nitpicking, even the big stuff with 3-ball, he comes out and makes a couple the next game, and and then you stop nitpicking. I don't know. I think he is able to learn on the fly very quickly.
Yeah, he's obviously very intelligent, a basketball IQ. He's picking up things like no other. Exactly.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think the Pelicans are going to be definitely a team to watch the entire season.
Yeah. All right, so thanks for listening to the inaugural episode of the Delay Game Hoops podcast. Went over both conferences. It sounds like we made it very clear what teams we're going to be watching on League Pass and what teams we're going to be avoiding.
Exactly.
The season kicks off on Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yeah, Tuesday 22nd.
Who we got playing?
The Pelicans and the Raptors. First game.
Yeah. And then second game.
Second game.
On the spot. Clippers Lakers.
Yeah, I think it is Clippers Lakers. Right?
No Paul George, Clippers Lakers?
No Paul George, Clippers Lakers. Yeah. Clippers have the home game on that new court.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens. Those two are definitely the favorites right now, I think, out of either conference.
Yeah.
Lakers and the Clippers. With the Bucks, with respect to the Bucks and the Sixers.
Yeah.
Those are probably the power four in the league right now, but any team, like we said, the Nuggets, any team outside of those four has a realistic chance this year. It's going to be wide open.
Yeah.
It's a fun year.
Yeah, well, opening week is always a great time for NBA fans, so hopefully things kick off well. Yeah, some good basketball. So yeah, thanks for listening. We're going to wrap it up here. See you guys on the next one.